This is Me Before Mom, the podcast that helps moms stay connected to themselves while doing the most important job they'll ever have. And I'm your host, Bert Anderson. Hi guys, it's Me Before Mom. This is Bert, and I have a very special guest with me today. Maybe you've heard of her. Motherhood in Hollywood, Heather Brooker. She is an entertainment journalist, an actress, podcast host of Motherhood in Hollywood. She's an Instagram influencer, if you want to call her that. We're both influencers, so I don't know if we would actually say that we're influencers. Gosh, you're a comedian. Holy cow, Heather. Welcome to the show. And she's a mom to Channing.
Yay. Thank you, Bert. I'm so excited to talk with you. You sound exactly like I imagined in my mind that you would sound.
Oh, good.
You have the cutest voice. I love it. I love it. But I watch your Insta stories all the time too, so I know what you sound like. But I'm just so excited to talk with you. Like, I feel like I've known you for years.
It's been since 2016 because it was right when all the Harry Connick Jr. stuff was happening.
Yes, that's right.
Mm-hmm. It's
so
been
exciting.
A really long time.
Yeah. Well, this is so cool. I'm so proud of you starting your own podcast. You're killing it.
Thank you. And you are too. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit first. Let's talk about just being a mom, your journey into motherhood. You have an adorable little redhead Channing. She's so cute.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, to be honest, I was one of those people that never thought I would be a mom. And only because, my husband and I were, as we refer to it now, we were very selfish people. We loved traveling. We loved our time together. We loved being able to just get drunk on a random Tuesday night with no responsibilities whatsoever. So we were married for at least about 10 years before we decided that we were ready to become parents. It wasn't something that we, in the beginning of our relationship, were plotting it out. There was many conversations actually we had where we didn't think we were going to become parents. We thought we were too cool for school. And quite honestly, we didn't have any friends who had kids. So when you're sort of in that insular group or an area where nobody has kids, you're partying all the time, you're traveling, all this stuff, it's not really a priority. And then something changed, I guess. Some people might call it the biological clock. Some people might, I may say I matured a little bit. We both matured a little bit. But I realized in my early 30s, I was like, I think I do want to be a mom. I feel like the love that I had for my husband was so real and honest. And I just feel like we had so much love for each other that it would have been just a shame to not bring somebody else into that relationship and into our world. And so we talked about it a lot. We prayed about it. And we just decided, okay, it's time, let's do it. And it took us a couple of years. And I remember feeling tremendous guilt because I thought, oh my gosh, I've spent all of these years saying, I'm never going to be a mom. I'm not having kids. Kids are dumb. And then I'm jinxed myself and now I'm not gonna be able to have kids. But fortunately, we were able to get pregnant and we did have Channing. And now here we are almost 7.5 years later, because she's 7.5. So
yeah, I was going to say, I think she's a little older than my youngest, Kira.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And is your husband an actor?
No, he's not. He's
just really funny then.
Yes, he is really funny. Yes, I think he's hilarious. He thinks he's hilarious. It's so funny. I'm the comedian and entertainer in the family, but people love to tell me all the time that my husband is more funny than me. And I don't deny it. He really is. He is very smart and he's very funny. So, and that's one of the reasons why I love him so much. But no, he's not an actor. He's in finance. He's a finance guy and he's just super supportive of all the crazy acting stuff that I get to do. I don't know that it would be the same dynamic if we were both actors, because actors are weird and different and very needy.
Yes, I can I guess I can't really understand that, but from all the A-list celebrity gossip that I consume, I have, my assumptions. So actually acting is I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about, because I remember when Channing was little and not in school,
Mhm.
and she would go to auditions with you.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you were doing the me before mom thing. Like that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, because you have still maintained a sense of yourself and your who you are as an individual while also being a mom, which is
That's
what
true.
this podcast is about.
It totally is. And that's one of the things that I love that about you starting this podcast, because so often people forget that they had a life and that they were a full-fledged member of society before we become moms, because so much of our identity after motherhood is entrenched in motherhood. I've always had a very strong sense of self, and so I was very much determined to not let motherhood derail my career goals and who I wanted to be. I wanted it to enhance it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to incorporate my daughter in my life. And I don't mean like force her to do the things that I do. I mean like try as best I could to let her know that this is my career. It's kind of unorthodox, it's a little unusual. Not everybody goes to auditions and not everybody is constantly filming themselves
Mm-hmm.
everything they do, you know. So but I really wanted to, and I worked hard to try to find a way to show her that I work. I remember there was the moment when she was little and she would say, "I'm so glad you don't have a job, mommy." And I'm like, "I do have a job." And she goes, "No, daddy has a job. He goes to work every day." And I'm like, "But I also work every day. It's just different. It looks
Mm-hmm.
different." And I think she's kind of gets a better idea of that now, because she sees me working. It's just a different type of work. But I'm a big believer in not letting go of yourself and your dreams and your goals. That's why I started my podcast, Motherhood in Hollywood, because I was looking for a way to connect with other women and other parents in the entertainment industry to talk about parenthood, to talk about mom stuff, and also movies, you know, and keep that love and passion of talking about movies and TV show and stuff. Because when you're an actor, you don't have an office to go to every day,
Right.
unless you're like one of the 1%, like the huge stars, like your Reese Witherspoons, your Kristen Bell. They probably have a production office that they can go to. They also probably have a regular team around them that they can talk
Mm-hmm.
about mom stuff with or whatever. But when you're an actor that's kind of working your way up the food chain, your auditions are maybe once every couple of weeks, sometimes once every few months. And that's when you may see other actors. If you're lucky enough to book a role and get to go on a TV show, you may be there for a day or a week, you know. And in let's say you're a series regular, well, you may be there every day, but you're not necessarily with your child. And you know, those are very rare opportunities. So
Mm-hmm.
there really isn't like a regular opportunity to sit down and swap mom stories with other moms. So that's really one of the main reasons why I started my podcast and try to start kind of networking and just getting to meet other moms.
Mm-hmm. And have you found in the entertainment industry that there's a strong like motherhood tribe amongst all of you guys? Or is
Um,
it more like, I don't know, not like trying to one up each other, but I mean, I think as women sometimes we do just do that naturally.
yeah, we totally do. Everyone would love to think that they don't, like, oh my God, I would never judge you. But yes, you do. We're all
Yes.
judging each other constantly. In the ones who aren't just say they aren't judging, like I'm judging them for thinking that they're better than us. Because of course you're judging. We can't help it. It's in our human nature. It's what you do with that judgment that you should be focused on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I don't know. I would say that probably for like some of the bigger celebrities probably have like their mom tribes and stuff, and there are pockets of actors who, you know, stick together. It's a weird industry for parents, and this is something I've just learned over the years of interviewing, you know, hundreds of people about their parenthood. It's not very conducive industry or job for parenting and for family life, because
Hmm.
it's if you're excuse me, if you're making a movie, you could be on set anywhere from 12 to 15 hours a day.
Gosh.
And that doesn't leave much time for social life, much less family. So if you've got a few hours off in the day or a day off, you're going to spend time with your family or running errands, you know, so there's not a whole lot of time for socializing. It's similar on a TV show. Like you could be working 12 to 14, 15 hours a day on your TV show. And there are more things now that sort of lend themselves to, parents hanging out. But the main stumbling block between having like a tribe is economic. You've got your millionaires who are not going to be hanging out at the same park that we're hanging out at.
Yeah.
They've also generally, your big time celebrities, and they have people around them to protect them and insulate them in their world, their publicist, their manager, their agent, whatever. So as much as I would love to like hang out with like a Reese Witherspoon or a Kristen Bell and like swap mom stories, the odds of that happening are just like big fat zero. I mean, I've met them both and I've interviewed Kristen Bell, but but they're not going to be calling me up and hanging out. So it's hard. And it always just kills me. And this is so gossipy and rude, but like, it kills me when the moms, like big time famous moms, are like, I'm so relatable. Like, I have to do laundry too. And look, I'm making dinner as well. I'm like, stop it. You're in a $10 million mansion. You have 2 cleaning ladies, 3 nannies. Like, stop it. Stop. It's, like, I appreciate you trying to be relatable, but come on. You're not hoofing it over to Trader Joe's like I am to try to get in before the rush and like haggling over Brussels sprouts with somebody, it's not the same thing. It's definitely more of an economic separation here in Hollywood than it would be like
in Minnesota.
Well, yeah, I mean, sure. Or Oklahoma. Like, I'm originally from Oklahoma, and there's definitely more things that are geared towards moms hanging out and like the local PTA and like all of that stuff. You just don't, like, I live 2 minutes away from Mario Lopez, who is big star in Access Hollywood,
And he was on Saved by the Bell.
And he was on Saved by the Bell, exactly. And like, I know his wife, but like, they're not going to come over and hang out with me, even though like they literally live like 2 minutes away, but they're not going to come and hang out with me because they live in the mansion on the hill. And they're also very nice. Like, I don't want to like say that they're not nice because they really are, but it's just a different environment. I don't know how else to explain it. I would say that the biggest factor is economic. Like, if you can hang with the millionaires, then you probably could create a good mom tribe. But otherwise, you have to kind of like seek people out here and go, hey, are you also an actor? Are you a mom? Like, what can we do? How can we hang out? There's Facebook to join and stuff like that.
Well, because I was thinking about it, and you wear so many hats in your career. I mean, really,
it's too many.
It's so many. And, I'm sure part of that is that you love it and it's your passion. What do you do and how do you find time to do things that are just for Heather? Not Heather the mom or Heather the actress, just Heather, or Heather the journalist.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
That's really hard. I'm one of those people that thrives off of being busy. Like, I love looking at my calendar and going, great, I have XYZ to do today, and I have this deadline for this, and I love having a full calendar. Joan Rivers once said in a documentary that they were doing on her, is that she said that the day that her calendar is empty is the day that she knows she's dead. Like, and that her career is over or whatever. And I sort of kind of feel that way. I'm like, I love being busy. I love having things to do. So and I do not prioritize self-care. That's a very hip and trendy.
Oh, it is. It's such a buzzword now. It's
such a buzzword. Yeah.
It's such a bummer.
And it really is. Yeah. Out here, especially, everyone's like, I bought some new lotion, self-care time. Like, okay. I'm really bad about self-care, but here's what I will say. This afternoon, right before this podcast, our nail salons here in LA have finally opened, and I scheduled myself a manicure pedicure for the first time in like 7 months. So that was a little bit of me time that was just for me. I didn't have to talk to anybody. I just scrolled through TikTok and Instagram while I sat there and just sort of zoned out for a minute. I didn't return emails or phone calls. So occasionally I do stuff like that for myself, but I should do it. I should probably do that more, huh?
You should. You should. I'm giving you permission to go and do those things more.
Thank you. I'll take it.
More often. So I was going to ask you too about, no, so this has nothing to do with being a mother, but tell us about being on The Office.
Oh yeah. When I first sort of had this realization that I wanted to be an actor, it was due in large part to The Office. I used to watch it back home in Tulsa and just remember thinking, there are people on this TV show that look like me, like they look
Mm-hmm.
normal and they're funny and like I can do that. And I was doing local plays and commercials and stuff like that. And I remember telling my husband, like, I really miss acting because I had done it in college. I said, I really miss acting and I want to go out to LA and see if I can pursue this as a career. And he was like, great, let's go. So we did the whole Grapes of Wrath move from Oklahoma to California. We packed up our stuff and came out here. And my goal in moving out here was to be on The Office in some way, some shape or form. I set that goal for myself. And right away, I started taking comedy classes, sketch comedy classes, improv. I started trying to get an agent. And after 2 years of being here, booked my first TV show. And it was a show called Mind of Mencia.
I don't even,
Um,
what is,
it was Carlos Mencia as a comedian. And then
okay.
it was a really really small, goofy, weird part. And then I booked right away like 2 or 3 more TV shows. And then I booked a role on The Office. It was like it happened like all within 3 or 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
Just boom, boom, boom. And I cried. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is really happening. Like one of my biggest dreams ever is coming true. The role was I was a waitress at this
Mm-hmm.
lobster joint where Steve Carell and Amy, who were dating. Do you
I
remember?
think I remember this episode.
And he ordered like 2 lobsters or whatever, 2 lobster dinners. So it was a big moment, very small part, just a couple of lines, and I was just so excited. I got to ride in the van with Steve Carell to set, and it was just everything I wanted it to be. He could not have been nicer. He
Yeah.
was so funny and so kind, but also down to earth. He wasn't hammy, and cheesy. Just really nice person. And I was like, please be my friend forever. Like, can we just hang out? And he was like, no, weirdo, get out of here. But it was so great. It was so glorious. And then I remember the day it was set to air, I had done we have these postcards as actors. You send out these little postcards to promote. This was back in the day to promote whatever show you're going to be on. You send it all over town to every casting director, agent, like Heather
Mm-hmm.
Brooker on The Office or whatever. Had a huge watch party with my friends, and I was cut out of the episode.
What?
Yes, I was cut. And I called my agent like in tears. I was like, what happened? And she called casting and they said, oh my gosh, we forgot to tell Heather, but she was cut out. But don't worry, they love her. They're going to bring her back in for something else. And I was like, I'm never going to work again. My career is over. Like, just devastated. And then not even a year later, I was called back in and booked another part. And it was when Jim and Pam were having their baby. And it
Mm.
was a 2-part episode. And I was a nurse that was checking them into the doctor's office when they were coming in. And I had a scene with Steve Carell again. And also, oh my God, I'm forgetting his name.
Did he remember
Yeah.
you?
He did. Yeah.
John Krasinski.
Yes, thank you. I'm like, why am I forgetting his name? John Krasinski, and then of course Pam Beasley, Jenna Fisher were there. So I was in the scene with like all of them. Just
That's so fun.
so excited. So I was like, ready to do my thing, blah, blah, blah. And then the next time I was like, I'm not going to tell I'm going to just sort of wait until after because I got burned last time and I don't want to. I told a few people and then I got cut again.
Heather.
Yes, I got cut again because what the network decided to do was there was some special programming happening that night. So they condensed the 2-part episodes into 1 hour long special. The birth of Jim and Pam's baby, because the ratings were just astronomical. So they didn't want to break it up into 2 separate episodes. So since I was in the tail end of the first episode, they cut my part out for time. I wanted to die.
Yes.
I have the worst luck. And come to find out, it's pretty common that happens. You would be surprised at how many actors have worked on TV shows that are on the cutting room floor. It just
really
happens. Yeah.
And that's just something we don't know about at all.
Right. Right.
But I mean, how much of a metaphor is that for life?
Yeah. Like you just never know. Like you reach it was so like disappointing, but also fulfilling in one level. It's like not only did I get to be on The Office, but I got to be on it twice.
Twice.
But then I got cut twice. So it was like, cruel world, It was
You're
so
like, I
disappointing.
was there.
I promise I was there. I have pictures to prove it. To this day, whenever I tell people I'm on The Office, I get dozens of messages from people, oh my God, what episode? What episode? And I'm always like, well, the thing is, the second episode that I was in does re-air in syndication with me in it. So I used to
Oh,
have people
okay.
messaging me saying, I just saw you on The Office. So I know I'm in some version of it that airs in reruns.
Have you ever seen it though?
Never seen it. No, I don't,
Wow.
as much as I loved the show, I don't rewatch it. I know some people rewatch it obsessively, but I don't. I'm too bitter. I'm too mad.
I don't blame you. I would be too.
I'm too mad. But the
You're like,
second
you broke my heart.
broke my heart twice, The Office.
Twice.
But both times Steve Carell was just lovely, very nice. And John Krasinski also very nice, and Jenna Fisher. Everybody was nice. And I actually, I was in nurses scrubs for the second episode, and I went over to, it all filmed in the same location. So they had a hospital area set up for the interior scenes. And then it was right next to the building where they had the office.
Okay.
And so I went into the office, and I actually went into Michael Scott's desk, and I had this picture of me with his mug.
Oh, that's great.
Sat in Jenna Fisher's desk, the reception area.
Yep.
And then the rest of the cast was there. And they were all like Rainn Wilson and, Oscar, and all of them were like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm just taking pictures. I'm just playing a nurse in another scene, but I'm so excited. So they all took a big picture. They took a cast picture with me. And I'm like, I love it. I should post that sometime. Like
you should.
Yeah. I was like, I forgot that I had that. I interviewed Rainn Wilson a couple weeks ago. He would never remember me. I mean, it was literally less than 30-second encounter, but I was like, it was so nice. Like, I actually met you. And he's like, I remember every second of that show. And I remember you. And I was like, you do not. But it was so nice. He was so nice and so funny. And yeah, that was definitely one of the highlights of my career, for sure.
That's awesome. That's great. You know what? I was thinking as you were talking, I always found whenever I would come back from press trips and doing red carpets, I always found that when I would come home, it was like this rude, like awakening, like crashing into my house. And all of us, like I went from the red carpet in a beautiful dress and I looked so nice. And then I'm like wiping butts and breaking up fights and like people asking me 5 million different questions, but you do this all the time.
All the time. Well, I did before the pandemic, but now I interview celebrities.
That's true.
I interview celebrities from my dining room. But yeah, it's a very strange world when your job is to be like, getting all glammed up and going to red carpet events and, but it's a little different from my perspective because I'm not walking the red carpet as the star of a movie. I'm there to work and I'm I'm there to interview the stars of the movie. So I'm there for hours, usually before the stars even arrive. So by the time they come, my feet hurt, I'm tired. I only get sometimes 1 or 2 questions with them, and then they are ushered along to the next press outlet. So it's a little different experience for me, although it's fun. And I know, it's fun. Like there's an energy to a red carpet, but it's also just a grind. It's a lot of work. But now I do it like the other day, I interviewed Dolly Parton in my dining room, and I thought I was like, this is the best day ever. I love Dolly.
How was that?
She's so nice. I'm like, can we be friends? How can we be friends?
And she probably would be your friend.
She probably would be. She's just Dolly like that. And then I interviewed Debbie Allen and Jennifer Lewis, who are in Dolly's new Christmas special. And Channing came in towards the end of the interview, and I was like going like this off screen, like, wait, and they were like, who's there? And I was like, it's my daughter. And they were like, oh my God, bring her in. And they sang to her. And like, I literally was like, this is the best. And then Debbie Allen was like, you should come to my dance studio. Do you like to dance? And it was just so nice. So there's moments like that where I think, man, I'm so lucky I have the best job. I love my job. But I also remember like they're not my friends. Like, they're just being
Yeah.
nice because I'm pressed and they don't want me to say something mean about them, which I never would anyway.
Mhm.
But it's still really fun. I still get to talk about movies and TV shows all day, which I love, and and still hope to one day actually get to be in one.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So since California's pretty much been locked down, especially LA, right?
Yes, yeah.
With the pandemic.
Hmm.
Have you had any like that experience with Channing and Dolly Parton and Debbie Allen? Have you had any other experiences like that where it's you're interviewing somebody and all of a sudden it's like, whoop, Heather's a mom now?
Oh, yes. Like, towards the beginning, it happened a lot more. She knows now if I've got everything set up. Like, we have a routine kind of with my interviews and stuff. But in the beginning, it happened a couple more times. Like, I was interviewing the cast of Superstore and Brooklyn Nine-Nine, a couple actresses from Superstore and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And there's, like, I don't know what it was, like, their season finales last April. And Channing came into the kitchen and she was talking really loud, and I know I could hear it because I had my earbuds in, and I was like, I could hear it and I know that they could. So I was like, hold on one second. And I kind of leaned over and I was like, hey, can you guys be quiet just for a little bit? And then you hear Channing going, sorry, mom. And they just started cracking up laughing. I was like, yeah, it's mom life. What are you gonna do? But for the most part, it's been fairly easy because she knows that when I've got my setup in the dining room, she knows not to come in.
Hmm. Is she, are schools open there or is she all doing
No,
distance learning?
no, we're distance learning. What about you guys?
Schools are open. It's very interesting. It's very different in this Twin Cities. So I'm in like the Northwest,
Mm-hmm.
and the elementary schools are all day, every day in person with masks.
Mm-hmm.
Middle school is hybrid. So my son goes on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then, yeah, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, he's at home. So,
Yeah.
so far, so good. I mean, we've had a few emails that have come out and said, you know, we may be switching to hybrid. And I've just told my kids, I'm like, look, like the name of the game this year is don't plan ahead of 2 weeks. Like
Yeah.
we're just gonna live in 2 week increments.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's really all we can do right now. We pretty much are under the understanding that she's not going to go back to school probably this year. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I would be surprised if she went into her classroom at all, unless something miraculous happens in the next 6 months, which it could.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling she's not going to see the inside of her classroom this whole year because the teachers here don't necessarily want to go back into the classroom. People are still super sensitive
Mm-hmm.
about it, and not everybody here is wearing masks. There's a big assumption that in California that everyone's very liberal and
Okay,
very,
I totally actually am
yeah,
shocked that you said that because I
yeah.
would assume that
You
everybody
would
would be
assume that,
wearing
yeah.
masks.
That's another thing that is not true that people, have probably read on the internet or see on the internet. There is definitely a liberal presence here and a Democratic, large portion of Democrats and liberals are in LA. But for the most part, California is a big farming community. People
Oh yeah.
forget, like, almost the entire state is farms, it's wineries, it's a big farming community, and in those communities, they're very conservative. Also, in the wealthier parts, like Orange County, is also very conservative. The whole of Orange County, where Disneyland is pretty much Republican.
Wow.
So there's a big anti-mask, anti-pandemic sentiment here. And
Wow.
that's why we can't seem to get a hold of our numbers. And people forget that. They just think, oh, them damn liberals in Hollywood. And it's not true. I mean, yes, there is that element, but that is certainly not the majority out here. I can't tell you how many places we've gone just in our town,
Mm-hmm.
just in our little neighborhood, and people are not wearing masks. And or they'll have it like down here, or they'll have it
Oh,
like,
I know, with their nose showing.
yes, yeah. And it's like, you're defeating the purpose.
Uh-huh.
So that's why we can't seem to get a hold of our numbers. And,
Mm.
I've had like back and forth with people online, like my friends from back home or my friends in Texas who are like, well, the pandemic isn't real. And, nobody in California, it's made up by the liberals in California. I'm like, BT dubs, as someone who lives here, I'm telling you, we're not making anything up. Like, the people here also don't believe that it's real. Like, that's why
Right.
we can't move on. But they're not, everything is still closed. Disneyland is still closed and will be for some time. So that's been a big issue. Universal Studios is still closed. It's been really hard. It's been really
Mm-hmm.
hard. I think Channing at first struggled quite a bit with the distance learning because she was so sad. She's such a people person and
Right.
she loves her friends. She wanted to hug her friends and play with them. And
Mm-hmm.
that has been, honestly, as a mom, that's been the hardest thing for me to see, is her social side not get fed as much as her education, you know.
Yeah.
The teacher's doing the best she can with teaching them, and she's doing great about following along, and we sort of found a rhythm, but
Mm-hmm.
still feel really bad about the social aspects.
Are you guys able to, like, do you have a quarantine or like a little bubble of people?
We do not. A lot of our close friends out here, like the people we see regularly, you know, don't have kids.
Mm-hmm.
The other mommy blogger friends or Instagram friends that I have are so spread out across the city that we'd have to drive an hour to hang out with them. You know, I'm sure a lot of the same people that we know. Uh, Occasionally we'll get together with some people. Occasionally we'll do that, but it's no, we didn't really have a quarantine do that. And the neighborhood we live in doesn't have a lot of kids in it. So
Oh, that's a bummer.
it's a huge bummer. It's an older, retired, like a lot of older folks that
Mm.
kids are grown and stuff. So it's been that for us has been a hard situation. But I know a lot of our friends do have their quarantine people that they've been, you know, spending time with and stuff like that. We just haven't done that. But also, quite frankly, we've been super vigilant about staying home.
Mm-hmm.
And occasionally we've gone out to eat. We took a road trip, but we didn't really interact with anybody on the road trip. And then we went up to this Lake Arrowhead area where we basically, you know, that was the first time we'd really
Yeah.
been out amongst anybody, but we still tried to social distance. So we've been pretty strict about staying at home and not really going anywhere unless we absolutely have to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
What was
which,
I
by
gonna
the way, my
Yeah.
husband's family is from Roseville, Minnesota.
Oh,
Yeah, I know that area very well.
get
Where
out of town.
yes, yeah, his whole family lives up there.
Okay, so do you come and
Not his whole
visit?
family. I should say his immediate family lives in Oklahoma, like his
Oh,
mom and
well then
dad
okay.
and brothers and sisters. But his extended family lives up in Minnesota, and we were there when Channing was 2. I think was the last time we were there, and it was like April, and it was snowing, and
Snowing. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, "What's happening? It's freezing." We thought it would be a little
Nothing.
warmer.
No, it's Minnesota. It
No.
snowed one year it snowed on Mother's Day.
Oh,
It was it was so ridiculous. And I was like, you've
yeah.
got to be kidding me. I maintain that I am not a Minnesotan. My husband is. I married a Minnesota boy.
Where are you from originally then?
Well, my dad was in the military. He was in the Air
So you
Force.
kind of were all over. Yeah.
All over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I claim no state, even though I've lived here the longest now.
Yeah, you can claim Minnesota. It's a good state.
I don't know if I want to though, Heather. I really don't
There's
like
a lot
the
going on
winters.
there right now. So I get it. I get it. There's a lot happening.
Yeah. So before we wrap things up, is there anything you would like our listeners to know? Like, how can they follow you? Any imparting words of wisdom on balancing working mom and mom life?
You know, I would just say, like, I think that one of the biggest things we do as mom is we put a lot of pressure on ourselves we try to keep up with the Joneses a little bit. I know it's an old lady saying, but out here in Hollywood, it's especially hard because you do have that dynamic of people who are like going to Cabo in the middle of a pandemic. You know, you're like, what? You know, or people who seemingly have like nicer cars, nicer clothes, better opportunities. You know, they're getting better sponsored ads on the gram or whatever. And you can really go down a rabbit hole of comparing yourself to other people. And I have to stop myself from doing that because it's super easy to do and just say, you know what? I'm a successful person. I work hard. I have earned, you know, everything that I've gotten. And I'm so grateful for everyone who's helped me along the way. And I don't begrudge that. And I don't want what everybody else has or anybody else has. Like, I'm happy. I'm trying to find some peace with my own life and my own world that I've kind of carved out. So that's what I would say. Just for people, if like, you know, comparison is a thief of joy.
Yeah.
You know? So just don't do that. And I would absolutely love it if your audience wants to follow me over on Instagram or Facebook. It's the Heather Brooker. And then I'm also on Twitter, and TikTok as Heather Brooker. And then if you want to listen to my podcast, Motherhood in Hollywood, it's motherhoodinhollywood.com.
Yes. Thank
Yay.
you so much for your time today. It was lovely to talk in real life.
In real life, Bert. Hopefully one day you'll get to come back out here again soon for red carpets
Oh,
or
I
something
know.
fun.
That would be so fun. It would be fun to meet you in
Yes.
IRL.
IRL, baby.
Well, thanks so much, Heather.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. This is so much fun.
That's all we have. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to connect with me on bertmanderson.com, and please visit our website, matriarchdm.com, for all of the show notes and to hear other awesome podcasts.